Welcome to this week's Into the Wilderness podcast. I am one of your hosts, Daryl Pace.
And I am sitting right beside Byron Pace, his brother.
And on this week's show, we have Jim Shockey, and we promised him a week ago. We've delivered him this week. And if
we probably promised about a year ago that we were going to try.
Yeah. If you are wondering why you're listening to this early, it's because we have released it over a week early because, one, we've just come back from IWA, so this show was only recorded 2 days ago, so we wanted to get it out as quickly as we could. But secondly, we are heading to the far north, very far north.
You can't get, unless you're in the North Pole, you can't get any further north than where we're heading.
So we didn't want to take the risk of not being able to put out the show. You can automatically schedule things, but we have little faith in technology. So we thought we'd put it out a week early. You guys can enjoy it. And then when we get back, we'll put out another show and we'll probably talk about what we've just done.
Yeah.
And then after that show, it'll be back to the usual scheduling, which is every second Thursday of the month or something.
We had a great show in Nuremberg in Germany. We met a lot of awesome people. We've recorded some really great podcasts with you. We focused on interviewing great characters with great stories, so you're going to see those in the coming weeks. And it doesn't get much better than starting off with Jim Shockey, who we actually interviewed twice, and this is the sort of the longer interview that we did with him. If you are wanting to hear about products from the show, sorry, the only product I think you're going to hear is from Spartan by Pods. We do interview Mark Newton from Rigby, so you hear a little bit about history, but it's more about storytelling.
It's more about stories, so we've really concentrated on the characters this year opposed to bringing you products, because when you walk around those shows, it's just mind-blowing, like the amount of stuff.
It's just kit everywhere.
It's just kit everywhere. It's so hard to distinguish what the hell's new and what's not new, and there's sometimes so little difference between the stuff that comes out.
And the other thing is, you're going to be able to read all about the new kit in pretty much any magazine you can think of in the next month. So you'll be able to read that. We focus on stories, and we got some awesome stories. In particular, keep an ear out for the one with Davy Hughes from Swazi, because he tells an awesome recount of him bear hunting in Alaska. But that's going to be. I forgot we did that one.
I'm excited to edit that one. So, like Byron said, there will be another show with Jim in it, but it will be a short one, so it will be tagged on to another show. I think it's about 15-20 minutes long, the other one. But it's cool to have him on twice, talking about a completely different thing on the set.
It was an absolute pleasure to meet the man. He is many people's hero, including ours, and the film series that he's worked on with his son Brandon, which you're about to hear about, has certainly been a large inspiration for us. So it was fantastic to finally sit down with the man and hear what he had to say. We have a big request.
Oh yeah.
For all of you listeners, please do us a favor. Even pause it just after I've told you this to go and do it. We want reviews, but we would really, really like reviews all at the same time, because it massively helps your rankings in whatever country you're in for more people to find this podcast. So we would like to get, a couple of hundred reviews in the first few days of this podcast going out. It would be massively, massively appreciated. We have loads of reviews already from all our kind listeners over the last 2.5 years that we've been running the podcast. But just the way that it ranks podcasts, it really, really helps if you get a lot in a short period of time. So even if you've reviewed before, check in, let us know you're still listening, and give us a review.
If you're using an Apple device, it's so easy to review now on the app. I think you don't even need to, it doesn't even take you to another page or anything. You can do it within the app, and then there's a little star system, and then write something about it. And also, if you've got the time, head over to our Facebook page, and you can leave a review there as well. But more importantly, online. I think what's a bit strange about the reviews is that it's country specific. So we have a large number of reviews in the UK, not surprisingly, and then we've also got less reviews around the world, because that's our main bulk of the listenership is within the UK. So if you are from the United States, Canada, Australia,
and we know that you're there.
We know you're there because we've got listeners in every state. Then we would appreciate if you left us a review, particularly in the United States, actually.
So hit pause right now. Go do it. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're back now.
We will not be announcing the winner from the last competition because, as we said at the start, it's coming out early, so you will have only had a week to enter. The competition was to win a vintage Hornady sign. If you look on our social media, we just want you to share a picture, so you'll be able to see all the information there, but just somehow share us a picture, tag us a picture on Instagram, Facebook, of you and your best friend or your best friend outdoors. Doesn't have to be a human, can be a dog or your bird if you're into falconry. Anything, but just whatever your best friend is in the great outdoors. That's what we want to see, and then we will pick the winner on the next podcast we put out.
Do we have any other news before we...
that was it. I think we're going to keep it fairly short and sweet. As always, go and visit our website, www.thepacebrothers.com. There's lots of info on there, and our shop. We have been selling a mad amount of the Modern Huntsman magazines, which should be arriving, the next shipment coming this week.
Any day now the shipment is coming in, and you good people have almost made us sell out of the new shipment that's already come. So
we might have to put a new one in.
We might have to put in another order to the United States and get some more over here.
So thank you very much if you're one of those people who've ordered it. It is fantastic, and if you haven't and you don't know what we're talking about, we did a podcast with the guys from Modern Huntsman, so you can check that out.
We will definitely have copies at the Northern Shooting Show. We'll be taking some with us. So if you can wait a wee while, then you can pick them up from the Northern Shooting Show as well. It'll reduce some postage.
Yes, it will. And of course at the Northern Shooting Show, we've been mentioning this pretty much every podcast, but it's incredibly important because it is the first one ever to be run, is that we have a hunting film festival being run on the Friday evening of the Northern Shooting Show from 6 till 8 p.m. It's by ticket only. And I did a count up yesterday. There's only 6 tickets for the public left. So if you would like to attend that evening, there's going to be a lot of great people there. Some really interesting speeches. The night is going to focus on the future of hunting, and we're going to be showing films from around the world, some thought-provoking films, some that have never been released before. We mentioned that our last podcast guest, Robbie Kroger, one of his short films is going to be shown.
It's been a very popular show, that.
Really
We've
popular.
had a lot of messages and comments about the previous show that was just on, about the Blood Origins project, and we've had some really great messages from people saying how much they enjoyed it. And it's only been out for
a week,
so
well, not even
not even a week. Yeah. So it's been really, really well received.
And I can tell you, so we told you it's the first film that we have actually announced. We haven't even put it online there, so only our podcast listeners know one of Robbie's films. But I can also tell you that we're going to be having the global release of a film from David C.P., who has been a guest on this podcast a couple of times.
Or 3 times now.
Always a massively popular guest.
Who I think we're seeing
tomorrow.
We're seeing
in
tomorrow.
Denmark. So it's a really, really great film, and no one else will have seen it, and it is going to be showing at the film festival, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be coming over. He wants to. He's going to try and come over, and if he can make it, then he'll be giving a short speech about the future of hunting as well.
If you have social media, you can follow us in the usual manners on the Facebook and on Instagram. We tend to not put quite as much on Facebook because... to be honest, if Facebook died tomorrow, I couldn't really care. But on Instagram, we really do put a lot of things up, really nice images. And if you have an account, tag us in some pictures because every Friday we try and share other people's work. So,
we have a Feature Friday.
We try and do it. Sometimes we're not here, so we can't always get the pictures. But if you have an account, make sure you tag us in the pictures. Hashtag Pace Brothers, and then it comes up on my feed, and then I'll message you, and then we can put you on our Facebook. We just like good images, good stories.
It's especially stories. If you've got a great image connected with a great story, all the better. And I think that's it. Unless you got anything else, Joel?
No, I think
we don't really want to hold people up from listening to Jim Shockey, do we? Everybody's eager.
I know everyone is eager. I was going to say that we stayed in a different part of Nuremberg this year, and wow, what an improvement from what was effectively a slum last year.
We were a little worried about getting back with our wallets last year in our pockets.
It took me by surprise where we stayed last year. And then this year was a complete change. We were staying more in the centre of town and near the castle, and it was absolutely beautiful. And the food, the one night we had food, and
you're talking about the platter with the big knuckle of pork.
How many people are you eating? And they bring out this tray, and it's for 3 people, and it could have fed 10. and there was these pork knuckles that were so large that people were eating them, and it was like it wasn't even half eaten, these pork knuckles. It was absolutely huge, and obviously we had some currywurst while we were there as well, because when you go to Germany, you got to have that.
The food was, exceptionally good. And that was sort of proper German food with sauerkraut and all the trimmings that you would imagine from a German restaurant.
If you ever have the chance to go to IWA or Nuremberg, it's a thing to do once, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, the history there is incredible. Yeah, we were standing in what were parade grounds where Hitler had been. And Goering's restaurant was there.
You could go in online and you could see the squares and be standing in effectively the same place, but most of the city was destroyed during the war. I think the Brits saw to make sure that nothing was standing.
Yeah, but the cathedral stood.
Yeah, the cathedral did carry on, and they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Anyway, we're going to let you listen to Jim, and like I said, we'll get back to a normal schedule in a few weeks' time.
Jim, welcome to our podcast, the Into the Wilderness podcast. Thank you very much for joining us again today.
It's my pleasure.
You must have been absolutely rammed the last couple of days. You must have met a lot of people.
I have, a lot of very interesting people. And for a lot of hours till early in the morning meeting interesting people. So.
But that's when the interesting conversations happen.
Yeah, exactly right.
And you fixed all the world's problems, right?
Yeah, we did that. And trust me, in the end, nothing good ever comes of it. So hopefully today I don't have to answer any hard questions. I'm not going to be that smart.
We're going to start with something easy because my brother and I are filmmakers, and one of the breakthrough points for us that thought, this is what we need to hold as the future of filmmaking in the hunting space, was when you released Uncharted with Brandon.
Oh, your son, yeah. He produces it.
It was like nothing I'd seen before.
When we got that DVD through the post on straight away, and we watched it, and it just...
Yeah, you probably had, it's like 12 hours on that first DVD.
I think I binged it.
Is that right?
Yeah, I did. And it was so... It was the switch over where the story and the journey. I mean, you've been talking about that for many, many years. You know, even before I was even in the hunting space. You've got a long journey in history.
Probably before you were born, actually.
Yes, exactly. But that for me, that was the point where here's the flick over of it's the journey that is important in terms of the story that we tell. How did Uncharted come about? Tell me where the origins of that lay.
Uncharted was a spin-off from our Professionals television show. So the Professionals was our son Brandon's idea. He actually came to me. He wasn't in the industry, wasn't producing TV, wasn't involved, but he was watching our Hunting Adventures television show, which had been on for years. And he came to me one day and said, "Dad, I can make your Hunting Adventures television show a lot better." And I said, "Wait a minute here. Now we've just won Best Overall, the Sportsman's Awards, the biggest.
Do you know who I am, son?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know who you're talking to?" And I said, "Have you ever edited anything?" He said, "No." He said, "But I'll learn." He said, "I just know I can make it better. I have an idea." So he came up with the Professionals. Now that aired for 4 years, won every award again, blew my show Hunting Adventures out of the water, and after 4 years, Brand came to me again and said, "Dad, we can do the Professionals," but I said, "I have a better idea." He said, and I said, "No, I have a vision. I have an idea. It's something I want to call Uncharted." And he laid it out for me.
Great name, yeah.
And 1 hour programming, not half hour. He said, "Dad, I want to tell the story of hunting. The kill is a tiny, tiny little piece of hunting, and unfortunately, in a half-hour show, the kill, when you end up with 14 and a half minutes of actual programming. The rest is intros and outros and adverts. So you got 14 and a half minutes. Well, just to do a stock on an animal can take that long. And so you told nothing except the kill. And the message is, you don't get the actual message of what hunting's about. You don't tell the story of hunting. And he said, "I need an hour." So okay, went to the Outdoor Channel, and they bought in, and the rest is history. This will be the 5th year coming up. Actually, the 6th year we're filming coming this fall will be Uncharted Yukon. So it'll, even with 1 hour, you go to Nepal in the mountains. How do you possibly do justice in 1 hour to what you're seeing and experiencing, the adventure, what you're learning, the culture, the taste, the smells.
It's so hard.
You can't.
I'm editing a Nepal film right now,
Yeah.
and you're right. It's like, what do I leave out? You
can't.
don't want to leave stuff
No,
out.
and you shouldn't leave it out. So Brandlin now is, instead of 1 hour, we're going to do 10 1-hour episodes on the Yukon. So we're going to delve right
Deep
into the heart and soul, the spirituality, the love we have of the outdoors, the beauty, all this. We have 10 hours now, not just one. So it'll be Uncharted Yukon for 2016.
But that was a major shift. Like the programming length that you did with Uncharted was a huge shift.
Yeah, big gamble.
I mean, it must have been. I mean, you must have had great people to support that shift, because that isn't what the industry was doing. It was breaking the mold.
No, we that was charting a new course. It was uncharted territory,
right?
Literally. Again, but like you said, you have the Nepal footage. What do you cut out? We knew what we were leaving on the cutting room floor.
No one else does.
No one will ever see it. No one will. How can they know? But we know, and we also know what we didn't bother filming because it's going to get cut because it'll never make it because you don't have the time when we're on these trips. So, at that same time, I picked up a new cameraman as well, Matt Zanil.
Yes, I've heard. I've heard of him speaking with you before.
Matt is. I mean, Brandlin and Matt are peas in a pod when it comes to their knowledge of the technical side and the artistry of working with cameras. So those two are, when they start talking together, it's like I go to sleep. Really, blah blah blah. But they love it. They live that. And Matt Zanil is also, in his spare time, a mountaineer, rock climber. So
he's got that adventurous soul.
Oh, he's fearless. He's got. If you ever see Matt Zanil, ever meet him, and talk to him, ask him what the marks are all around his forehead. It's from halos from breaking his neck doing crazy skiing stuff.
Oh wow!
Like he is the real deal.
That's a proper comeback. That.
Oh no, he still does it.
Yeah.
It's like he just has there's no fear in his
body.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter what I throw at him around the world. And I've gone through a few cameramen. They sort of literally.
Have you broken them?
Yeah,
Killed them.
yeah. I know Matty Gibson, who's a great cameraman for us.
Which one? Who was it that you were with? I think it was in Russia. It was like the longest hunt you'd ever done. It's like a month long.
Yeah, 48 days.
That was crazy.
Backpacking. It was Matt Zanil.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt Zanil's a skinny guy to begin with. He lost it was 22 pounds. He was a rake when we got out of there. I think I lost about 10, and the guide, I'm pretty sure lost about 44 pounds. He was, and then he's never guided again. He just said that was.
You broke him.
Yeah, no, he was done. He was done. Slipnikov was his last name. He was a great guy, but I mean, he just didn't realize what he was in for when he took us on.
He signed up.
Yeah, we're not going to stop. It doesn't matter.
It was relentless is the one word.
That's exactly. Yeah, that's actually the key word that Loopold uses on their branding now is relentless.
Relentless, yeah.
And it's a great word.
Yeah, it is,
truly describes what you have to do and what we all do. We all do it in our own way. It doesn't matter if you're roebuck hunting. Mm-hmm. You just have to, go and do it and never stop, never give up. And it's a success every minute that you're out there. So it's like constant success on success on success. And I guess for us, it's a little bit easy to be relentless when you love
you're so
it.
Passionate about it.
Yeah, of course.
One of the other big shifts that the Uncharted series for me brought was the importance of an actual cinema experience. Like the production and the film level just was like there was nothing else. I mean, even today, people have had time to catch up. It's still right up there. I mean, that comes down to Brandon and the team that he's got around.
It is absolutely.
And the accessibility as well. It's the kind of thing you could sit down with someone that doesn't have a huge interest in hunting and they would enjoy watching it. I have people all the time come up to me. I don't hunt, or women all the time. I don't hunt, but I will watch Uncharted, or their husbands say my wife won't watch hunting shows, but they'll watch Uncharted because we're showing what hunting actually is. We all know it as hunters, but we've
been bad at telling that story.
Yeah, we haven't done a good job of it. We to be fair, I mean the technology wasn't there to be able to do it.
That is true.
There was no red cameras 10 years ago.
No.
So you couldn't. I mean, every 22, or we're shooting 22 frames a second that are all you could blow them up to a poster size. I mean, they're photographs. So it's, when you combine that technology, the advances in technology, with, I mean, even batteries and memory, and now we can shoot red cameras and shoot an hour worth of footage. Before you'd have to 30
keep
seconds.
backing it up.
Sure.
And the different camera angles with drones and so on that you can
nowadays.
now get.
Yeah. So and then you combine that with the artistic talent of a Brandlin, our son, or a Matt Zanil. You've got the whole world. What amazes me actually is when I watch television on mainstream TV, there's nothing that's done as well.
There really isn't.
We're actually in our industry are further ahead in those regards than the biggest, fanciest networks out there with unlimited budgets. We're already better than them, and it's because we've grown organically and without control on not some big fancy executive in New York City telling us, well, you can't do that.
You've got the flexibility, right?
Yeah, and you got to have 80 million people hanging around you, and you got to have a big truck, and you got to have. No, you don't.
It's the only thing that I can think of that comes close and surpasses level is the guys doing like Blue Planet.
Exactly.
Which is the budget of 100, 200 million and takes 5 years to make.
Thank you to the government for financing it with tax dollars.
But you're making a season in a year.
Yes.
Yeah. Season a year.
Yeah, that's what we do, is a season a year. So it's a lot of travel. I'm on the road.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, I actually tell people all the time, it's not an actual job. We have too much fun to call it a job.
Don't tell anybody. Yeah.
No, I got to wake up every morning.
That's an inside secret. We
It's
won't tell people we're having fun.
I'll deny.
Cat's out the bag.
Yeah, it's so much hard work.
Yeah.
But it's really not. I mean, I go to bed at night going, God darn it, I got to sleep for. I know my body needs it, but I don't want it. And when I wake up in the morning, yes, I've got the whole day ahead of me to do what I do. It's we get one life, and we're in the industry, and I'm sure people listening would love to be if they're not.
Yeah.
And what I say is, you have one life. It's your life. Nobody owns that life, just you. So make your choices to do what you want to do with that life, because there's no redos. There's no redos. And if you're truly passionate about something, makes you happy and you love it,
pursue it.
We actually got an email last week from someone saying that they had changed their career completely. They left the army and they were doing something else, and after listening to our show, they decided that they're just going to go for it. And now they've been accepted into gamekeeping college to become a gamekeeper.
And it's from listening. It's because of the guests that we have.
The guests we have are not.
It inspired them to. Yeah, but it's also, you guys set the example. You're doing this. Look at. You're here. You made the effort to be here. You've got the people. I mean, I posted a photograph on Instagram yesterday, and I mean, people are coming on there saying how great you guys are. You guys do a great job. So it's you guys are doing it. Your guests fine, but you guys are making that happen. So
thank you.
It's pat yourselves.
I think anybody who is lucky enough to be involved and have this as part of their life has, in a small way, a responsibility to help share it.
Absolutely.
And some people have the opportunity to do it to a greater extent or less.
Yes.
Obviously, you've got a big profile, so you have, in a way, you've got a big responsibility, because a lot of people are looking at you and taking inspiration from the stuff that you do.
Yeah, and we take it seriously. Yeah. I understand that. I accept it, and we take that seriously. And in the end, I've been asked what I want my legacy to be. If my legacy is just that I made a positive difference on the perception of hunting and hunters, for the non-hunters, I'll feel this is a wonderful way to spend a life. So that's my goal. I take it very seriously to I don't know, I don't want to say enlighten, but inspire. Anyone that's got aspirations to do what I do, say, yes, you can do it. You can do it. And all it takes is determination.
It does. We were interviewing Remy Warren 2 weeks ago, and he was saying that, because he's a young guy, and how did he start? And he just decided he wanted to do something. He packed up all of his stuff, and he just went to Montana and just started hunting.
Sure.
Because if you don't actually go and do it, you'll never know. You can't just sit and wander forever.
No, of course not. I mean, the world's full of people that regret not trying at some point in their life, and they all of a sudden, you're old.
Yeah, it's
And-
very, very rare that you regret doing something.
Exactly.
I guess
Trying,
as you get older, you regret the things you never did.
Sure, and you don't know what your potential would have been. You don't know. It was never realized because you never tried it. And maybe you're afraid of failing, and fair enough. Why waste time if you think you're going to fail? But if you really love something, you got to try it. You got to try it.
Really, people are best at things that they're passionate about.
Of course.
And I've seen that in careers that I've changed. If I was to give advice to anybody, it is always that if you get to the point where you are not putting all of you into whatever it is that your job is, it's time to move on.
You might want to consider changing careers. Do something you love.
Yeah. So you're here, you're at the show in IWA, but I would imagine if I was a betting man that you're probably not just going to be here doing this. Have you got any hunting plans?
Well, no, if I'm traveling all the way to Europe, there's no way that I'm going home without hunting.
So what else? What's in store for you after the show?
I head straight down to Spain, to Barcelona tomorrow, and we'll be archery hunting for Basete ibex for 4 days.
Great.
I believe I'm archery hunting. I got to make sure that it's legal, but I'm definitely going.
They do a lot of bow hunting.
they do.
Okay, so I'm.
You're all good there.
If you
Okay,
said
perfect.
England, there might have been a problem.
Or Russia, but no, I'll be bow hunting for 4 days, and then same sort of thing. If I'm way on this side of the world, there's no way I'm going home without hunting somewhere else. So
you want to go and have another experience.
Yeah, so I'm going to go down to South Africa, and I'm going to hunt along the Limpopo River. I've always wanted to hunt there.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, I've not been.
It's awesome. The Limpopo region, it's fantastic. Where have you've been in Zambia, Zimbabwe before?
Yes.
So it's a little bit like that.
Yeah. Botswana isn't it on the
Botswana,
border.
well, it's
with
right on the
Botswana?
border. Yeah.
So that's I want to hunt a Limpopo bushbuck, just
That is
free range along the Limpopo River. No, I've hunted them before, and I've got one with my bow, and but there's just things that I kind of want to do, and that's one.
It's one of my favorite antelope in Africa.
Oh, of course.
And of course you got all the variations amongst it.
Yeah, and I've hunted them all. Right, I've hunted them all, but I would hunt them again and again and again. That's one of the animals. There's some animals I wouldn't go back and hunt twice, but bushbuck I'll hunt all the time. Warthogs, love it. Any of the dikers I'll hunt them all the time. But I wouldn't. Oh, that's
There's
just wrong.
deer walking past us. What's going on here?
No, not just walk by us, but actually
taunting us
that we're doing a podcast and we can't have beer, but he can. That's just wrong.
I was kind of hoping he was going to put them down and then bring us.
You know what? There was hope in the eyes there. He made contact with me as if like I've sorted you out.
And then
never mind.
He just laughed us off.
Yeah.
It's
So that'll be a great experience. How long are you going to be in Africa for?
I have 7 days there, and I'm working with Alexei from Book Your Hunt.
Okay, yeah.
Agafodnov, do you know him?
I don't know them, but actually we're speaking to some of the guys. They're just setting that up in the UK now.
Yes.
We're one of the guys in
right now.
Okay, you definitely want to be on that train because it's a train and it's not stopping. It's the future. We'll all be using that in 10 years.
As a matter of interest, just explain it to us for people who haven't heard of it before.
If we book a hotel room nowadays, do you call a travel agent and say, "Can you book me a hotel room?" No, nobody does. You go online and you
it's
check.
An app, booking.com. Done.
This is exactly what this is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And as it's the beginning of it, the infancy. So at the beginning, every outfitter is created equal. That's on there, and most of the outfitters realize they got to be on there already.
Yeah.
And most can't afford big marketing budgets to come to fancy shows. I mean, it costs us $30,000 to set up at a show with my outfitting operation. It's expensive. Yeah, I got to sell a lot of hunts. A lot of outfitters aren't that big. They can't incorporate that cost in their budget. So Book Your Hunt allows them to be on an equal footing with me, with every other outfitter. So at the beginning of Book Your Hunt, every outfitter is created equal. Now, as hunters book and go with these outfitters, they report how good the hunt was.
And the reviews put them
higher.
The
reviews put them higher or lower. Now, in 5 years, when the database is big enough, why would you take a chance on booking? I mean, I don't know. You guys are young. I'm old. I've been around a lot, and I've been on a lot of crappy hunts that I gambled on the outfitter because I thought, he's a nice guy. Telling me the truth. No, he wasn't telling me the truth, and it turned out to
half
be
the truth.
If. I mean, I've been where there was zero truth involved. So
were you even in the right country?
That's to tell you the truth. Here a quick funny segue. And this isn't the outfitters. It was communication, but I got a call to go to Turkey a few months ago for a Konya mouflon hunt. And I said, yes. I sent the money and flew over. There was like a 4-day, you got to come over now. It's a good price. I flew over and I arrived at 11 o'clock at night in Konya, Turkey, it takes a long time to get there. My bags were just coming out on the conveyor belt, and I said to the outfitter, I said, this is so great. How'd you, free-range Konya mouflon? And he said, oh, no, it's not free-range. It's high fence. I said, I don't do high fence. And so before my bags got to me on the carousel, I'd already called my people and said, book me on the next flight home. So 11 o'clock at night.
That was it? You were
I was on the flight the next morning at 7 in the morning to go back to North America. So, I mean, and that's not their fault. But if
communication break.
But if I'd have had bookyourhunt.com and
you
just
known.
checked it,
yeah,
I would have known. And it's the future of hunting. We're all going to use it.
Have you done any hunting in the UK?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, in Scotland in particular.
Scotland in particular. I've done England as well. The only place I haven't hunted yet is Ireland.
Okay.
Haven't hunted there. But I'm actually meeting a fellow right after we talk to go hunt Ireland.
Oh,
a lot of when I choose what I want to hunt is based on where I want to hunt.
Yeah.
I've hunted Sika deer before, but I want to go to Ireland and hunt them there. They're free ranging.
Yep.
I just want to go try it.
There's not a place on the planet you haven't really been. I think I saw a picture of you with a map, and I think you had pins. And,
we have it at the museum.
It's pretty full.
It's pretty, if there's hunting in the countries,
you'll go.
Yeah, I will go if I haven't been.
Yeah,
but mostly I've been.
I wanted to ask you about the museum. It just looks incredible. Every time you put up a picture, it blows me away because when you first started talking about it, I thought, just a little museum and testament to all the places you've been and things you've collected over the years. A little bit about some of your fascination of the different cultures. But that is a big operation that you've undertaken there.
Trust me, every spare minute at home, I'm curating down there. I'm a collector. I've always been a collector since I've been young. So and if there's a single running theme through everything, I love what we've done with our hands, the hands of man. That's actually the name of the museum. And
Hands of Man.
Yeah, Hand of Man. And there's a in the cave paintings when they used to blow paint against the wall and leave their handprint.
Yeah.
That's actually the logo, and it's a Museum of Natural History, Cultural Arts, and Conservation, which to me they're all tied together. We've touched the wildlife around this world so much that we can't deny that we're managing every wildlife population. And the museum, the idea is to show people the connection between us and wildlife and the nature. That's truly what the museum is all about. So there's mounts. There's a lot of full body mounts, but there's also skeletons. I mean,
the skeletons is what fascinates me.
They're so cool. I love it. And
he has a ridiculous collection of.
Ever since a little kid, I collected bones and skulls. Often stuff I found dead.
When we're done this podcast, I'll show you some pictures of my skull room that I've put together. I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
And as hunters, there's not one hunter that walks by a shed deer antler and doesn't pick it up.
No, at least to look at it.
Of course. And even a skull of something, all of us do that. A bird's nest, if we see a hornet's nest, I mean, we're all fascinated. We're birds that fly by. What
was that?
We're actually, we call ourselves hunters, and we're kind of labeled as hunters because they focus on the fact that we kill animals. But actually what we are is naturalists. And sometime in the last 300 years, there was a divergence. Naturalists kind of went out of vogue and they became scientists or artists, and they just went off in different directions, and they've not really joined back together. So to me, this museum brings the art and the science back together. So you won't see shoulder mounts in this museum, that are obviously hunting mounts. You'll see full body mounts, and you won't see them leaping, where it's artistry of motion for taxidermy, because it's about the animals. Just this is what they look like in the wild. This is how they stand. This is a realistic pose for them. So it's I guess what I want to share, and essentially it's a lifetime of what I've collected, all the artifacts. There's actually more artifacts in that museum, and art, ethnocentric art from around the world, tribal art.
I assume the nose of that canoe that you got cut off.
Yeah,
Where was that again?
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, that was up the Sepik.
Awesome episode.
Yeah, it was up the Sepik River.
Wow.
It was I cut several noses off canoes. They call them noses. They're prows of the canoe.
Yeah, well, for the listeners, he did get permission.
Yeah, well, I know, and not only that,
you were just hacking off as you're going down the river.
No, there are some beauties that I would love to hack off, but these were canoes that were all filled with holes. They're not in use anymore. So in case anybody's a canoe activist, anti-canoe hacker offer, it was like, no, these were dead canoes.
Even for you, who had travelled so much at that point, the trip to Papua New Guinea, which I think was the first season of Uncharted,
very first season,
must have been so
absolutely
far
amazing.
removed from anything you'd experienced.
Oh, I was looking forward to that trip since I heard about Papua New Guinea. How can you not?
I didn't even know you could hunt there until you'd made the...
Yeah, you can. Yeah. That's you can actually hunt some of the indigenous animals too, like the cassowary, the most dangerous bird in the world. I was looking, but it's kind of a gray area.
I've heard about this most dangerous bird in the world.
Yeah,
they were talking about it on the show, and I'm not convinced if it is the most dangerous
like boo, and it's going to run away.
Yeah.
It's a bird. It's a bird, but it's a very big bird.
Yeah,
and apparently it's got great big spikes sticking out of its dew claws, or what do they call it? Those.
Yeah. See, I'd be more fear of an ostrich because they can get pretty nasty.
Sure, but these apparently are worse than ostrich because they're more aggressive, more protective of whatever they protect. Their babies, their nests, their space. I don't know. But they have killed people, and that's the big deal. They actually disembowel people with those
with
big hooks.
What do they call them?
Talons.
Yeah, no, dew claw would be like on a dog.
Yeah,
I've
the spiky thing.
I've gone mind blank.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Turkey. Yeah, Turkey has a snoot and it's got a comb, but this is the spikes on their legs. Spur. There you go. That's what it is. But they're like knife blade, big long 4-inch things. So they've disemboweled people that somehow get crossed.
I'm going to have to look this bird up because this is the first I've ever heard of it.
No, it was cool. And you know what? I never saw one when I was there, but I saw so fresh tracks. The water was still seeping into them. I wanted to see that, a bird of paradise, which I did see.
Yeah.
There's several species down there, but I saw the one. We didn't capture it on camera. It was flitting through the trees up above. It
was tough conditions there. When all that rain was coming down, I think I don't even know how you captured this.
It's Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that was spectacular. I mean, that was up the Fly River where we got the rain really badly. But the Sepik River, for me, I mean, I was buying artifacts like statues out of their big lodges. They're sort of communal lodges where they do, I don't know, whatever they do.
How many suitcases did you go home with?
Oh, it was nuts. It was crazy. It was like, honestly, it was ridiculous.
No, sorry, Brandon, you don't need this camera.
Oh no, I dumped everything. I had no clothes. I had nothing. It was everything. I was bringing strictly artifacts back, no gear. Even my binos I gave away to the locals. Oh yeah, I had, because it was weight, right? So I could put more stuff in my carry-on. So no, I brought back a lot, and there was a banning. We went to the my brain's gone dead. One of the island, New Ireland, and the Banning tribe was there, the fire people, and we.
One of my favorite scenes, though.
Unbelievable with the dance where they kick the embers,
incredible.
And they wear these big giant.
It's in the opening.
Opening
credits.
That's right. The original credits. Yeah, and they wear masks that are 3 feet tall and 3 feet square, and I mean I could have got one so simply, and they're beautiful. There's big gargoyle-looking masks, but there was absolutely no way to bring that back. No, I couldn't figure out how to do it. Couldn't do it on an airplane too big.
You can see just the look on your face and Corey Norton's face when that was all going on. It was just like, I'm absorbed.
So it's like you're in another world, but it's our world. Yeah. It's just a part of the world that
we're just quite far removed from that.
We're so far. I mean, look where we are, right? It's who would think that people dress like that and
dance around fires?
Yeah, they deify the volcano and kick fire around with bare feet. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't quite compute. But I loved it. Papua New Guinea, I'd go back in a second with bigger suitcases.
Yeah. Do you think you will go back?
I do think so. I think there's places that and not necessarily for the hunting.
Just to go and immerse yourself.
Yeah. And I'd go up the Sepik River even further than we went last time and visit every little side tributary village and get as far off the beaten path as I possibly can. I mean, I just, it's funny. I feel more at home in those kind of places than I do, here in the city where we're supposed to belong.
So will your museum be? It's going to be open, I assume.
I'm
How's that going to work?
We're actually working towards a hard opening in end of June of this year.
Wow, as soon as that.
Yeah.
And where is it? Whereabouts is it?
It's Vancouver Island.
Okay.
So anybody that's coming to Vancouver Island, you'll be able to find us. It'll, hunters will love it. I know hunters will love it. There's not, we've brought people, not soft openings, but people that know us through somebody, and I'll bring them through as we've developed, set it up and see what people like and how they react, and the response has been tremendous. We brought a classroom through, 30 youngsters, grade 10 to grade 12, just as an experiment, because it's an education
how they
center.
would react to it.
It was fascinating. It was fascinating. We made them fill out forms on whether, at the end of it, whether their mind had been changed about hunting. And there was 30 students, and 22 of them said yes, but there was 8 that said no. And I was kind of bummed about that. I was going, wow, man, we should have been 100%. What went on?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out the 8 are hunters.
Oh, okay.
So it was a stupid
So it was 100%
question.
success.
Yeah, it was 100% success. We didn't change the hunter's mind, but we changed everybody that didn't hunt their mind on. They understood at the end of it man's relationship to nature and how we're inexorably linked. We can't remove ourselves from nature and think that, if we just don't touch them, it'll be fine. No, everything's managed nowadays.
It's a myth, that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fairy tale kind of.
It's you know what, Eden's long gone, and get over it. We're going to have to deal with our 7.5 billion of us living in this world,
and counting.
Yeah, and growing every second. And the wildlife of the world doesn't number that. It just doesn't number that. But cows do. There's 7 billion cows.
Yeah.
There's 25 billion chickens.
And everything impacts.
Yeah, of course it does. People that think, tofu fields, bean fields, soybean,
we have these discussions all the time.
Yeah, vegans feel that I don't kill anything. You're horrible. Oh, wait a minute. Those soybean fields, what do you think lived there before you turn them into soybean fields? Now they're a monoculture. Nothing lives there except soybeans. Of course you killed wildlife.
We had this on our Instagram the other day. Someone actually, for once, very polite. Vegan, very polite.
Vegan, yeah.
Questioning our ethics. It's actually quite weird because her husband listens to our podcast.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so he obviously, I think he either hunts, but she's very much hardcore vegan. So she's questioning us. We have no problem replying back to people that are actually reasonable, because you got to take the time to do it. Yep. The only problem was, I'm coming up with all these points, this, and this. She's bringing up points about industrial farming, and I don't agree with all the things that goes on with large-scale industrial farming. But she kept ignoring my comments, asking her, well, things die for your food because as soon as you grow any kind of crop, it's protected. It's particularly, in the UK, we see it time and time again.
Even at the insect level.
You've
got to think of that.
Nothing lives there because we can't have anything if we're going to produce a big volume of grain.
Your citrus fruits as well, and your avocados, all those things that come from Africa and that our monkeys are trying to steal, and your smaller mammals, either they're fenced out or they're controlled. And for some reason, they either want to choose to ignore this or just
don't want to admit it.
Don't want to admit that things die.
They can't because the world they built crumbles in around them.
Yeah.
It's a hypocrisy, and who wants to suddenly sit back and go, wow, everything I believed in is wrong, and all the people that I absolutely didn't believe in are right.
Yeah.
It's
very, very hard to minimize your negative impacts as an individual person on the planet, but there are lots of things we can do.
We always say, if you can, eat local, particularly in countries where you can grow your own fruit. In the UK, fruit sometimes is a bit of a hard one, depending on what fruit you're growing.
You can normally source it from.
But you can source it. But my point is, vegetables. Eating seasonal vegetables within the country you're in to reduce the impact of it coming on a ship 3,000 miles across the planet to get to you. And eating stuff, if you can't hunt yourself, eating from a local butcher, because then you can source your food exactly where it comes from, opposed to large supermarkets.
Yeah, this is a locavore movement. We have it over in North America as well.
It's getting into Europe.
It's getting into Europe.
Yeah. The good side of that is hunting becomes part of that. If they're truly organic, living, want to be responsible, then they go hunting.
Yeah.
You know, it's why not?
It's the ultimate connection and responsibility to the meat on your plate.
And we see them. It's interesting. I've seen 2 front page articles on the Vancouver Vancouver newspaper. Vancouver's a very left leaning city. It's like Los Angeles North, but 2 times over the last couple of years, I've seen articles front page of hunters, but they're not. You know, the hunters make it very clear that they're not hunters like the other hunters.
Yeah, not like those guys.
Yeah, they're you know, we're the new hunters. You know, we only hunt for this reason. It's very interesting. You know, once they get into it, which is great, welcome. You know, but you'll learn, and you'll end up convergently evolving to be, you know, the hunters that you're disparaging because they actually are the true hunters. You know, you're starting, you're a beginner, and you have to believe that to justify what you're doing. But in fact, when you learn more about it, you'll realize that the hunters that have come before you are the true conservationists. The reason you can hunt at all and even talk about anything to do with hunting is because of them. Yeah. So they all learn eventually.
You have such in North America and into Canada, there's such an incredible story there with the resurgence of game off the back of hunters.
Yeah, the North American model for wildlife management is
I've just written about the Boone and Crockett Club and their role in that for a hunting magazine in the UK, and a lot of people in Europe won't know that story. But I think it's important to learn from that.
And it's an amazing story as well.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah, and it's
Theodore Roosevelt and those guys.
Yeah, and they Theodore Roosevelt. I mean, they took a meat hunt, not even meat hunting. It was market hunting.
It wasn't even
they just hunting. They looked at the wildlife as hamburger, a convenient virtue that you had in this new country. You know, so their manifest destiny, where we get the entire, you know, America is ours, everything on it is ours. You know, it's not a renewable resource; it's a resource extractable done. But that's, you know, it was Theodore Roosevelt that started and said, no, wait a minute, let's put an ethos to this killing, and let's make it be old animals only. So hence trophy hunting. Trophy hunting saved the wildlife in North America.
And there's the misunderstanding.
People don't. They disparage trophy hunting because they think it's a guy puts his foot on the animal. And you know, there's no question that, you know, guys like Howard Ruark and Hemingway, you know, these macho guys.
They romanticized it in a way that.
And it was actually did a disservice to what we stand for as hunters. I'm not the biggest fan of those guys. You know, writers, okay, they're obviously great writers, but I think they did a disservice. They caused that pendulum to start swinging backwards. You know,
because people looked at them and wanted to emulate it.
Well, of course, and they were misogynists. Let's face it. You know, I mean,
just read any of the books.
Yeah. So I mean, who you know, I get it. I would probably have been against it too and been part of the pendulum swinging. But the problem with the pendulum swinging, it's really hard to stop that momentum when it hits the bottom and gets full power up the hill. Yeah. You know, away it goes. Well, now the pendulum is stopping again, and it'll slowly.
I definitely see the shift.
It is.
It's building.
Yeah, it's building, and there's younger people. The younger people, you know, the byproducts of the babies of the '60s hippies, you know. They were pretty idealistic and, you know, ideologues. Let's save the world. Well, no, the young kids nowadays, they're just smarter. They're not prepared to be sold a bill of goods. You know, I mean, we always say, woe is the next generation. I don't see that. I actually see really smart youngsters that they don't take it just because you say it, because they've been so used to garbage in the news that they believe the truth. They just want to, what's the truth? And so I actually have hope, and I think they'll gravitate towards hunting. They know, why would they want to eat a fuel injected beef steak when they can have an organic, you know, wild game meat? Yeah. Of course, there's no. It just
that's
makes
what fills
sense.
not alcohol moose, but game meat. That's what fills my freezer. Yeah.
If you want moose, come over and visit the museum. I'll give you a moose feed. That's for sure. That's what
I'm actually traveling to Norway next month just to have moose.
Is that right?
Yeah, with my friends. I said, when I get there, I expect to eat moose the entire time, because it's the only time I get a chance to actually eat it when I'm there.
Is that right? Well, come to Canada. That's what I grew up on, and that's what our family's growing up on.
I always look at all that you've wrapped in that brown wax paper in your freezer with some jealousy.
Well, you're not the only one. Although my old school wrapping it up in brown paper apparently isn't a cool way to do it nowadays.
But I was just saying the other day, why don't we do that? I think I'm going to go back to that. If that's the old school way, let's do it. And we're going to make it trendy.
You think that the butchers back home,
they would
always wrap it in the brown paper?
It's like a wax paper.
It's wax on one side. Yeah, it's wax paper. It's actually a great fire starter too, by the way. If you're ever out in the wilderness, take a roll of that. You'll never have to worry about starting a fire. Any match in the rain will start that. If you get it a match lit, it'll light the paper and you can light a fire.
Every day is a school day.
It is, yeah.
And I'm going to go from plastic. Well, it's probably better environmentally, isn't it?
In the long run, I suspect it's got a smaller footprint. but I mean, the thing is, you're not going to be able to store your meat for 3 years.
You do have to get through it and consume.
Yeah, you got to eat it. But you know what? Moose season is every year, so
you need to get through it.
We consume. We consume our
halfway through the
freezers,
year. We go and take all the stuff
from the bottom
of the freezer
and redo it.
Yeah.
We give a lot away. I mean, obviously, I do a lot of hunting. It's one of the reasons my wife says she doesn't hunt. She said, our family needs more wild game. It's like, why? I bring caribou and moose, but we give a lot away. So we feed a lot of families, not just our own family. Which
I think a lot of hunters are like that. It's amazing how much food exchanges hands just because we want to.
Of course they do. Yeah. It's always, historically there's been 10% of us hunt. 10%. And of that 10%, there was a percentage that were better hunters and a percentage that were worse and some were mediocre. But when they went out, they were providing for the 90% that didn't hunt. Someone had to make baskets and build rock walls to protect you against the other cavemen. I mean, the hunters were always just 10%. We provided for the tribe. We always did. People nowadays, they'll say, "Why do you kill so much? If you're going to kill, I get that. You need one to feed yourself." I say, well, wait a minute. A farmer or a rancher essentially is a type of hunter in a way. They're they need one cow for their family, but that's not what they do. They have a herd that they feed many, hundreds of families. Hunters are the same way. We're the same. Our meat doesn't get wasted that we take from these animals. It gets used by families, and there's nobody yet has turned down an offer of wild game meat when I've said, hey.
When we have birds hanging in the garage, the amount of cars that arrive at our house. Any birds we can take? Hey, on you go, take it home.
Exactly. People love it. They love it. That's again another reason why I'm bullish on the future for hunting, because of that there's 10% that hunt, there's 10% that don't like hunting, and of those a very small percentage are extremely vocal about it and violent about it. But then there's 80% in the middle, and half of those already kind of like us. They're on our side. And then there's half that they'll lean the other way depending on what story they hear, in the news recently. But of that 80%, when you give any of them wild game, like your pheasants or whatever's hanging in your garage, or moose meat, in our case over in Canada, they all accept it, and they all brag to their friends how they're having wild game meat. I guarantee it.
They will.
It's a special event.
We've even converted someone who lives locally to us, who they basically don't have any meat in their house because his wife
they moved close to my parents, and they were vegetarians when they moved there.
He wasn't, but his wife was, so he was as well.
And they rock up our house, and there's deer hanging and everything. You can imagine.
Welcome to your new neighbors.
But they have converted now. They don't have meat normally, but when we give them meat, they eat the game meat. So even her being a vegetarian, she will eat the game meat because she understands that we have sourced it.
Yes.
So she's happy with that.
And that's when they're open-minded like that, that's fantastic.
Yes, great.
It's when they, again, get caught up in the ideology and they become a little virulent in their efforts to stop other people doing what they do. It makes no sense to me.
I think it's part of wanting to belong, part of a club. Like, they feel like they have this society or group that's behind them. I think everybody wants to belong to something.
Yeah, and believe that there's.
And you know what? Come and belong to the hunters because we're here.
But you know what the crazy thing is, as hunters, I mean, we like to belong, but we don't worry about stuff like that very much. We're happy. Like I said earlier, I'm happiest being away from people, and if they want to let the world do what it does. I
just couldn't imagine being that angry or just thinking all the time about. It would be exhausting. But on top of that, I enjoy other people regardless of what they do.
And you've got your own life, and you're going to dedicate your life to stopping somebody else from having their life. It's like,
It's strange.
It is. It doesn't make that much sense.
Well, it doesn't to us as hunters.
No,
and that's part of the reason we've been so ineffective in our messaging to the non-hunting public, because we don't care.
Yeah.
We
do
know
need to understand it more so that we can allow them to understand what we do.
Exactly. We have to kind of open up and spend. But who wants to do that when we can be outside breathing fresh air and trying to hunt? I mean, it's do I really want to spend 3 hours trying to convince somebody that we should, they should understand hunting? I mean, I know we need to, but I'd rather be outside.
Yeah. But then on the larger scale, and as a way to kind of wrap this up, because I know you've got things to do next, stuff like Uncharted, films and series like Uncharted, which is accessible and watchable by people who are not hunters. That is a way that we can start to tell stories and make it more accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. We reach a greater audience, and we're reaching outside of just our already converted hunting audience.
There's no point talking to ourselves all the
time.
No,
we already understand, but it does appeal to non-hunters. That I think is the beauty of Uncharted, and as I said, harkens back to legacy. It makes a positive difference on the perception of hunting and hunters by the non-hunting public. So that's what Uncharted is, and everything we've basically spoken about, Uncharted is a way of telling that story to somebody other than us three sitting here and who's ever listening, who are probably hunters. But they'll take it away and
have those conversations with other people.
Of course, and every little bit helps. If however many people are listening right now, of anyone who's listening, go tell 10 people. Make it an effort to tell 10 people what hunting means. Just make that effort, and you'll convert those 10 people once they understand. And if you have to do it by giving away some of your precious wild game, do it. It's worth it, because they'll then tell other people, and it's amazing once you've educated them how they're so interested in educating other people. Say, no, wait, I heard, this is what I understand, this 100.
Yeah, they want to share that.
Of course they want to share, because it's, we if you want bad news, just go watch TV. We're humans. We actually like good news.
Yeah.
We actually like to share good news.
Positive environment.
That's why I actively don't actually turn the news on in the morning. First thing, because there's no positive messaging going on in the mornings.
And if I want right-wing news, I turn on this channel. If I want left-wing news, it's like, well, wait a minute.
What do you want to hear today?
Yeah, you're supposed to be journalists. I should be able to, any one of you, if you're actually professional in doing your job, I should be able to understand both sides of the story from listening to
one story.
From any channel. But that's not what's happening.
That's why we listen to podcasts when I'm commuting to work.
Well, you know what? That's the best way. Yeah. It truly is the best way, because you're getting an unedited. There's no, I don't believe I've tried to sell any products on this podcast.
It's just unfiltered. We barely even edit these, levels. What people say is what people
just
say.
For sound, exactly. But it's not. You're going to get an unfiltered truth when you're listening to podcasts, and I do the same thing. And now I'm going to start listening to you guys.
Fantastic.
Since you seem to have such interesting guests on.
Jim, it's been an absolute honor to have you on. You've been very high on our list since we started the podcast, and so I'm very grateful that we finally had the chance.
It's my honor, gentlemen, and I love to see the younger generation carrying on this effort that I've been a part of for 40 years now. So it's great to see. It gives me hope, and you've actually made my day.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing what else you're up to in the next coming years.
Yeah, you won't be able to miss it. We're going to do our best to make sure everybody knows what we're up to.
Brilliant.
We really hope you enjoyed listening to that. I just edited it, so I listened to it again.
I know people enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know people enjoyed it. And if you are a new listener to the show, then welcome. Make sure you go back and listen. There's some amazing guests that we've had on over the last two and a half years. Amazing guests, and in fact we get it quite often, people asking, it would be great if you did this on a show, or have you done this, and can you direct me in the correct way? And we do reply back to people. So if there is something you want to know, or a show that you go, what should I listen to, then we can direct you in that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of big names mentioned recently, and we're slowly ticking them off. Remy Warren was one that was requested for ages and ages, and he was on a few weeks back.
It just takes time lining people up because
they've got busy schedules.
They've got very busy schedules. We're busy, so trying to get that, and especially when you obviously this podcast was a lot easier because we were both in the same place. But other shows, when you've got a 6-7 hour time difference, it makes it a lot more difficult to do it. And I was going to say, I probably should have said this at the start, if you could hear lots of background noise and clinking and stuff like that, that was just because that was the background hum of the show. We weren't actually in the middle of the show when we were doing the interview. We're actually a little bit removed
like
from
a balcony area.
But you could still hear the buzz of the show behind.
And if you are a new listener, it's not always well-known famous people. We discover some gems of knowledge from people you might never have heard of, and for me that's actually some of the most exciting podcasts. One I can think of recently was, because we had a huge amount of feedback on it, was Sam Thompson. Not like a high-profile figure like Jim Shockey, but fascinating podcast.
He kicked off this year, actually, Sam, for 2018. We're in 2018. We're on 2018. He kicked off this year, and I think if we went through our messages, he was probably up there with some of your big names in terms of feedback and emails we got off the back of that.
So when you're scrolling through, obviously it's easy to gravitate to the names that you know, but don't be fearful of listening to one of some like a complete unknown, because there's some awesome podcasts in there with people who are not particularly well known on the sort of public platform.
Yeah, so join us again. I think it's going to be in just over 2 weeks' time, and like I said, we'll get back to.
Hopefully, we've survived. Because
if the podcast never comes out again, then you know that we've been eaten by polar bears. And frozen to death.
Yeah, we're going to Svalbard. It's the coldest place we've ever been.
It's currently minus 17 today. I think on Saturday.
That's centigrade for the American listeners.
20 degrees centigrade. And then on Saturday it's going to be minus 20, but that's the temperature. And then if you look at the feels like...
Is that like including the wind chill?
Yeah, so it was like tomorrow is minus 11, but feels like minus 19. Oh, okay. So that's with the wind chill. So I think that takes... We've never been in that kind of temperature in Scotland. I think the worst we've seen this year, I saw minus 9 at the house, minus 9 or 10.
It was like minus 15 up in the mountains and stuff, but at home, like, minus 8, 9.
I know that we have a large amount of Scandinavian listeners. I know
they're a bit laughing.
I know you're laughing at us for these kind of temperatures, minus 17. I think Lisa, who's coming on the show, where she lived was minus 35 or something stupid.
Well, even David CP and Nikolai, David, who we just talked about, they were with Tommy Holmberg, who's also been on this podcast, up in Sweden, and they were hunting Capercaillie in minus 35. They had a really cold snap there. Nikolai was telling us that it was some of the coldest weather they've had for years. It was just over a couple of days. Absolutely mad.
So it's cold for us. But the thing is, I think when you start getting into the minus like 15 and below temperature, centigrade once again, it can get very dangerous very quickly in terms
if you don't know what you're doing.
Frostbite. Yeah,
which we don't.
No, we just don't. We just don't really have the experience in snow. Yeah. Neither of us can ski. And it's just we've not spent a large amount of time.
But we have faith in our guide Johnny, who's going to be keeping us right. He's been there before, and they've kitted us out really well for the trip. So
we're going
to be fine.
We're going to be fine. We're going to be squared away. We have an armed guard with us the entire time.
Because you have to.
You can't go anywhere without. We're dog sledding. We're doing snowmobiling. We're doing everything.
We're hopefully going to film a lot of wildlife. Arctic fox, polar bear.
Yeah, we've got some very nice shiny kit.
Yes.
To film.
We'll put up some pictures of our stuff while we're in Svalbard when we can, and probably when we come back.
We have no idea what the internet situation is going to be like. Hopefully there is some, so that we can be putting up stories on Instagram, so we can show everyone what's going on.
And we're pushing the boat out with the camera gear. We're going with more camera gear than we've ever taken before.
Yeah.
1 million lenses, and got some really, really nice kit. We're filming with proper cinema lenses. It's going to be another level.
Oh, I was going to say this at the beginning. The podcast stickers, they're still going out the door really well. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, we've got small round podcast stickers that you can put on the back window of your car.
About the size of an old tax disc, if you remember what that was.
Yeah, a little bit bigger than a tax disc for people in the UK. And in fact, we are, I guess, not showing our age, but anyone that listens to the show that's probably under the age of 21 or 20 probably would never
had
a tax disc. And we're not even that old.
No. It all went electronic.
I don't.
For those people who don't know what we're talking about,
Yeah.
you used to have a little piece of paper in the front windscreen of your car, and it told you that you taxed it for a year.
It used to be quite a cool thing because you used to change your tax disc holder to like a cool one.
Yeah.
So I had a Help for Heroes one, or you could have like one it was kind of like
what I liked was when you had like if you looked at like old Land Rovers or whatever, and you'd be able to see, because most people never binned the tax disc, so you could see all the years gone back and all the different colours.
They're worth a bit of money now.
The old ones,
the very, very old ones, they're worth a bit of money.
Damn, I binned all mine.
Yeah, I don't have any. I don't think my car's ever. No.
You're not your new one,
not
my
new one, no. But anyway, we digress. We are talking about tax discs.
So that's it, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. Oh, yes. I didn't actually finish.
Oh, right. Sorry, you're talking
about
our podcast stickers.
So yeah, podcast stickers. What the idea is that shove them on your car. It promotes the show, but also if we see it out and about, then there'll be prizes to be won, which will be really cool. So we'll announce. I think it'll probably be in a month or two when more people have got the stickers. We'll start going. If we see your car on the road with the sticker, then we'll get hold of you somehow. And
I imagine probably one of the most likely places
is round shows.
Is round some of the shows.
Yeah, but it'd be really cool if we were driving down the motorway.
It would be.
A large amount have gone out the door already. They only cost £1.40, and then plus postage, which I think is 50p.
Mm-hmm.
So in total, it's £2 or something. And if you put it with, if you're buying something else in the shop, it doesn't cost any extra. So grab yourself a podcast sticker. I would love to. We've got none going to the United States, or did we?
I don't know, because we don't do so much of the postage anymore, so I'm not sure where.
I don't think
any
have gone to the United States. So if you are a United States listener, then we'll order a sticker.
Well, I think what we need to do, actually, and we'll do this on the next podcast, is we need to give a podcast sticker away.
Yeah, I think we need to give
a couple away.
I think we need to give a couple away, actually, to different countries.
Yeah.
So we'll give one, or in fact not one. We'll give like 2 or 3 to people in the United States. Yeah. We'll give a handful to the Scandinavians, because we are actually over there, so that would be kind of really cool if we were out and about. And some to Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that.
Because that's the bulk of our, that's where our main listenership is. But we do have people all over the place.
Thank you very much for listening to this show. You're going to be hearing from us very, very soon, hopefully.